Gatekeeper, Sendero, Gatekeeper Sendero, Ecto, After months of you guys saying, Craig, check out the Ecto, that's what we're going to do. We're going to check out the Ecto. Now, I have a sneaking suspicion that this thing might just be a Gatekeeper with a Sendero type body. I'm coming into this one kind of cold so that you get my first impressions, thoroughly my first impressions. The Element RC Enduro platform is consistent. Despite having a variety of different machines, like the Knightrunner here, underneath this thing's still really similar. Now, the Ecto is another member of the Enduro family. So what I'd like to know today is what makes this thing special, why is it popular, and is it worth buying instead of either of these guys if you want a rock crawler? One of the first things that I really liked about the Sendero when I first looked at that a while back was that wonderful 5-slot or 5-pole motor. As usual, the inside of the box is a barn for a diorama. I tell you what, this thing is smaller than I thought. There's a bag here with servo mounts, a bigger battery rack, body mounts, body posts for a different body if you want, and a bunch of trim that'll probably include wipers and mirrors, I'm guessing, among other things. Nice, big sticker sheet. All right, that's cool. Do you know, I like being able to customize these things. The Ecto doesn't look half bad, even just in yellow, but I'm liking this. Let's have a look here. Hey, that's a sticker sheet, man. Look at that. And a bunch of stuff there. Very cool. So I'm liking the broad variety of stickers. What else is in here? We've got the SC480X manual, that's for the ESC, and just a catalogue of other stuff. Now, if you're new to the Element RC Enduro platform, there's one thing that's really nice about it. It comes with a roughly 6% overdrive from the transmission, from the StealthX transmission, and they've included this other gear to replace the transmission to give you 11% overdrive. Overdrive being the front wheels spinning faster than the back wheels, which is advantageous for rock crawling. Now, from my tire test series, it's the same general grabbers that we sent head to head with a bunch of other tires. Go check out my wet tire test, I'll stick that up there. That will show you that these tires are some of the better OEM tires out there. Radiator cap on the front. This is interesting. And Gatekeeper's rear suspension setup is present. Is this basically just a Gatekeeper with a lighter body? It could be. Same 12.8-inch wheelbase. Yes. Rather stiff front suspension. They're oil-filled shocks, that's good. Tough little things to undo those. I've lost it. This body weighs very little. Now, think back just for a minute. I've got the Gatekeeper sitting here, which is another Enduro platform. And if you're new to this channel, welcome. While we have a wide range of different RC vehicles here, and I have a broad interest in things, my bias is towards crawlers and performance in particular. And I've been competing for some years on and off, and I've had some success too. I like a good crawler, I like to see it do well. Now, if you've been around long enough to have seen my Gatekeeper review, and particularly my Gatekeeper versus Capra comparison, that's there now to check out after this, you will see that this is a performer. The Gatekeeper is not far behind. It weighs a bit less than the Capra, and it's more of a rock race with that big suspension. What's curious about the Ecto is that it shares the Gatekeeper's Go Fast suspension that I talked about. There's no battery box. I don't know if this thing's waterproof. The XPR4, I suspect it is. We got behind the axle steering, pretty crazy angle for the, especially for that front CVD. It's acceptable still, but very high. So you've got a very high skid plate, but they've tried to get the angles nice. Let's just take a quick look in the Gatekeeper here. On the front of the Gatekeeper, which was a kit, I've also parked my ESC. So it's in the same position as the Ecto. It's surprising how similar they are. From front to back, these are the same vehicle. Now the Gatekeeper was a kit, so the electronics I've used are a little different. Although I have still used a 16-turn 545 slot here. So their performance should be very similar. The Element Ecto appears to be a Gatekeeper with a lightweight Lexan body instead of this heavy monstrosity. That's a good thing for the approach angle. You might remember the snub nose of this thing. I found got in the way. It got in the way on obstacle approaches, and this is the kind of thing that can be modified. We can lose the winch and bring it in more, do some cuts. I can bring that bumper in right up against the front here, which will help the approach angle. The takeaway, if you take nothing else away from this video, is that this is a Gatekeeper with a Lexan body. So I have two Gatekeepers basically, which is good because now I can give one to a friend so I can go crawling with people on more extreme stuff. That's a plus. Let me just do a very quick rundown for you. There's a power cell in the back and some stickers and molds on the side, little roll cage which weighs almost nothing. I like that the windows are see-through, that's cool. You could do a little interior for it. Although, if you're buying this, you bought a Performer, and that's what you want. And I very much appreciate that they're bead-locked wheels. And with little hubcaps too, they're quite neat. That's cool. We've got the door handles that turn. XP130 is a basic radio. It's not waterproof, and it does have dials on top with no lid, which means if you're caught in the rain, you want to cover that because water can get in. Small thing to be aware of. This is a 3-channel. You've got your 3rd channel there. 3rd channel is not used on this machine. It's 4 AA's in the radio. It can take 2S or 3S or nickel metal hydride. The suspension is only found on the Gatekeeper. There are a few configurations for the front and the rear in the Enduro platform. How is this different from the Sendero? Well, there's the obvious body difference. The body is noticeably heavier than the Ecto's body. And aside from having the more regular rear suspension, you also have the wider pans, a waterproof receiver box and side steps, and just the more trim of a more regular scale truck. But otherwise, these are very similar. Which one should you get? Honestly, go with personal preference. Do you like that? Do you like that? Which one do you want to customize more? I would personally be buying on price if I wanted an Element RC crawler. The Gatekeeper, if you like this style of body, it's certainly cool, and I like that it folds out. I mean, that's a great little trick, that. Real quickly, you've got a suitable servo that's Metal Gear waterproof. It's the Reedy 1523 MG. Same servo across all of these. Not super fast, not super strong, but adequate. I also see bead-locked wheels, which is great. They're plastic. Aluminium shocks front and rear, short battery holder here. There's a wide one as well that comes in the pack, but it'll be too wide for the Ecto body. It's a 5-pole or 5-slot motor. It's equivalent to about a 40-turn 540 3-pole. It doesn't have quite the same punch, but it makes up for it in buttery smoothness. The entire Enduro platform is buttery smooth to use. Their StealthX transmission gives you an overdriven front axle. So the front spins between 5.8 and 11% faster, depending on which gear you use. It's 5.8 by default and 11 if you replace the gear. It's a reliable platform, and in my recent We're Turning 1 video, I awarded the Element Enduro platform as having the best ready-to-run electronics because it's reliable, the servo is adequate, the ESC and motor are a great mix, and the whole thing is just perfectly matched to the kind of machines they are. The whole thing is just made for one purpose, and that is to do well on the rocks. I knew when I bought the Ecto that I was getting another similar vehicle because the Element Enduro range all have a similar base with a few modular changes. What I wasn't expecting was just how similar, like I really wasn't expecting that it would be a Gatekeeper, just with a different body, because that's really what it is. Let's get this thing onto the rocks and we'll see what we can see, won't we? Let's do it. I've been waiting all week for it to stop raining. We get flashes of sun here and there, but these rocks are still wet, and our 6 problem test will have to wait for the next video. Here's a wet rock preview. Now these tyres are new. There's no weight added to this thing yet. Traction is going to be really tough to get. I think the Ecto might have something to show us anyway, but this cannot be a fair test of the Ecto's capabilities. I only asked this same wet rock test of the, look at that, problem 1 done. I only asked this of the TRX6 about this time last year actually, and it did it while the rain fell. Now it is raining right now, but not as heavy as last time, but the rocks are still wet. The tyres are very wet now. But these grapplers are pretty good. And you'll know from my test, if you've seen it before, that they're quite impressive. Now, that's problems 1 and 2 done in the wet. Okay, problem 3. This is kind of exciting, actually. Yeah, you can see it wants a little bit of weight up front. No, I don't think we're going to get problem 3 done. That's all right. Problem 4. It's very stable and very, very wet now. It's an impressive steering angle it's got there. Got to be careful not to go back too far. Come on, Ecto. See how the body's deforming without side steps? That's going to happen. It's not a bad thing with this body style, it's just worth noting. The Gatekeeper has that exo cage on it. I don't think we're going to get 4 done. That's all right. Okay, problem 5 in the wet. So far we've got 1 and 2 done. 3 and 4 were a bit much for it without that traction. It's a very wet machine right now. Again, this is just to show off what it can do, but this cannot be a fair comparison to other vehicles because all this water means a lot less traction. There we go. Also, I'm not using a tripod right now, so because I'm holding the camera, driving is quite a lot harder, and I'm missing certain maneuvers until it's too late sometimes here. I can't really help that. I would like to see slightly slower speed. I noticed it was 48 dot pitch gearing on the pinion and spur. Nice one, Ecto, come on now. Yes, no, just doesn't quite have the traction, that's okay. Now, problem 6 is a waste of time, but nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? All right. It's a lovely quiet motor. I don't know what the SC408 ESC runs at. I'm going to guess 2 kilohertz pulse width modulation. The motor is quiet. It doesn't have that high pitch whine of the 1K frequency. It's nice. Just like all the other Element vehicles, this thing's really smooth. It is too fast for my liking, but the suspension in the back is the same as the Gatekeeper, and that belies that it's a rock racer by design more than a rock crawler. So what we're trying to do here is slow, precise movement. Clearly this platform is not made for that. It really wants to be slowed down a bit, and I'd like a little bit more resolution down low. Ah, wow. I kind of resorted to throttle then because I had nothing, slow wasn't working. And wasn't that impressive, that little hop up. Now we just need to get it across the rock a bit. Oh no, too far, too far. If we had got it across to about there, could it do it? Yes, okay. So, we're going to have to wait for a more consistently dry day to do the 6 problems in the dry, because that would really show off how this truck performs compared to the others. I think, as we just saw then, with the positioning on the rock right here, it did actually just kind of walk up quite happily, and you saw how it jumped just before. The Ecto is a superbly balanced vehicle. I think just a smidge of weight up the front. Don't need to change the wheels, just we'll put some SSD knuckles on it or something. 50 to 80 grams on each front corner only, that's all you'd add. And ideally slow it down with a higher turn motor, but even just leaving it stock, this thing has real potential to be one of the best crawlers I have. The other thing I noticed just playing around now, oh here's the sun, thank you sun, is the servo had a little bit of fade. I suppose the geometry of this thing is such that the servo will have to work harder here than it does on the Sendero. First impressions of this ready-to-run vehicle are good. It will be quite a crawler. Clearly with this suspension and the motor, it's designed to be a faster than a slower machine, but it is impressive nonetheless. Stay tuned, we're going to come back to this when it's consistently dry, when I've got actual dry rocks instead of water everywhere. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining me for this first look at the Ecto. I can see why you guys are raving about it. It's certainly an impressive machine. Throw me a like if you got something out of this. We'll look forward to putting this thing on the rocks when it's dry. It's just started raining again. And I'll catch you next time on RC-TNT. Thank you for watching.